Allen here, and we are talking more Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. You are our third guest in the lineup for this great film. Dakota Shapiro was on yesterday or the day before we talked about this. This is big. It's been a couple years since we've chatted. Mackenzie Lansing, it's great to see you again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's great to see you too. I'm glad to be back.
Yes, well, last time was a very different project, to say the least. Uh, Mayor of Easttown, that was such a great show. And now you're doing big things with this Hunger Games prequel. Let's talk about it because I remember early on you started promoting this and it was being talked about, and now it drops tomorrow in theaters nationwide. How exciting is this for you?
It's really exciting. I think it's only kind of dawning on me now, to be honest, which I had a year, but it's really sort of just starting to settle in.
Yeah, I have to say, this is a really big deal. You've been working on this for a while. How was the experience for you going from a television series, a limited run series? You've done other things in between, obviously, but this is big. It's a major motion picture.
Um, yeah, it's different. I mean, you're right. Like this is my first time working on something of this scale, something in a franchise and something that required so much stunt training, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, it was a crazy experience. Honestly, some of the 5 months that I spent on set were some of the best of my entire life. We got there a month before we started shooting, me and the other tributes, and we started doing all this stunt training. It felt like the actual Hunger Games because we were just there like running all of our stunts and fight sequences over and over again before we even started shooting.
How was that? I mean, you're basically doing that, but you're also getting to know your co-stars as
Yeah.
well. So that helps build chemistry, I imagine, for those that
Oh,
you're sharing scenes with.
yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Francis was actually pointing it out. He was like, friendships are being formed with the people who already like who it makes sense in the storyline for them to hang out together. So without spoiling, the people that are closest to me, in the arena, those actors were my closest friends on set. And it's funny how that just sort of happens organically. But yeah, it's kind of like being at a sleepaway camp with a lot of stage fighting.
That's what
But yeah.
Dakota said too. He said it's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like summer camp, but and those that you get to share scenes with and that sort of thing. So walk me through the audition process for this. How did that happen and how long was it?
Well, so the funny thing was that I didn't actually know I was auditioning for Hunger Games because
Okay.
the code name was Butterfly, and I sort of have like a rule where I don't like investigate too much what something is because you don't want to get attached to a project before you've been cast, and I'm always in the mindset that like I should do my work no matter what it's for if I'm agreeing to audition for it, right? So I did the preliminary audition. And there weren't a lot of lines because in the original script, my character didn't talk very much and she's a lot of action. So there wasn't a lot of, I didn't know how big the part was. I didn't know that it was for the Hunger Games franchise. And I only figured that out, right before my callback with Francis Lawrence, who, had seen me in Mayor of Easttown. And yeah, it was sort of, went from there. I think it was like one audition and maybe like two callbacks for this role.
Wow. So it was a really quick process then, because normally it can take longer.
Yeah, it can. I think like it helps when, they're a little familiar with the role that I played in Mare of Easttown, although completely different from this and a different genre, had some similarities. So I think they had faith that, based on what I've done so far that I could do it. So
Yeah,
uh
that was a fun role that you played
yeah.
on that show. I recently rewatched it again
Oh,
because
yeah.
of the strike and there just
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of content, but I forgot how good of a show that really was and what a great character you played. So you've played a few different characters. What was your process getting into this role and understanding it? Had you read the books before? Had you been familiar? I'm certain you had seen the first set of films in the Hunger Games.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like I watched them. So I grew up in France. So I watched some of them dubbed in French, which is funny. But I had seen the movies. I hadn't read the books, but obviously read all the books once I, found out I was going to do this. And yeah, I was already a fan of the franchise, like as movies. And then, obviously got into the books through the role and became like a huge Hunger Games fan through working on the movie, which was exciting.
So I know we can't talk about much, but what is this story about specifically? It's a prequel. I think obviously people would know, but where does it take us in the story with what you can share?
Sure. So it takes place, I think it's 65 years before the Hunger Games that we have, the trilogy that we currently have. And it's the 10th annual Hunger Games. So it hasn't been going on for that long. The games are still sort of being finessed, I would say, and how they work and all that. And it's an origin story for President Snow.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Man, you're always so good at this. I
Thank
think
you. I'm
that
always so nervous.
oh, you're fine. You're totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And from what I've seen, it just looks phenomenal. I just remember seeing previews last year in theaters and going, oh man, and then you were promoting the fact that you were involved. I was like, we got to get Mackenzie back. They have to come on the show because I just think it's so cool to have watched your career just really explode and do all of these things. And the fact that it was wavered before, but now it's just a film that we can talk about. I think that's really cool. Dakota said something interesting about this story in particular, that he learned a lot about himself as an actor and just really what he's capable of and what he can do. That this project really stretched him physically and emotionally. Would you say that would be true for you too, as far as what you had to do, say, in Mare and everything in between, and then now with this Hunger Games prequel?
Yes, I think that especially this movie is a real character study. It goes more into depth with kind of the more complicated themes in the Hunger Games. And in that sense, that's why I think it's my favorite one. I mean, obviously I'm super biased, but I saw it at the premiere for the first time like this week, and I'm really proud of the movie that we made. It was extremely challenging. I was talking to Francis and talking about how this movie, it made me a better actor and it ultimately made me a better person because of how challenging it was. I had the most stunts probably out of most of the tributes. And I'm deathly afraid of heights, and I had to get over that for this role. I also had to learn how to do martial arts with a trident. And that was something, that I was completely new to coming onto this. So I found out that I was capable of things that I had no idea of. And even, yes, as an actor, because obviously it's the Hunger Games, there's some, you have to justify some pretty intense choices for your character. And so figuring out a way to do that, it was challenging in like the best way possible.
I love it. Well, one last question. I know I asked you the same thing last time about friends and family, what they think about your career, significant others, and now you're doing this. So have they given you any feedback since then on projects you've done in between, or are they waiting to see this project, this film? And I'm sure they'll have lots of things to say for you as an actor.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my parents, had, and all of my family had so many things to say about Mayor of Easttown and input. But I think I'm most excited because a lot of the projects I did before didn't reach France because, HBO isn't like, you have to have like a special online thing to be able to access HBO over there. So, yeah, I'm excited for something like this that I know all of them are going to be able to see easily, and to my friends, I think in France, this is the first time I've acted in their minds because it's a franchise that they recognize and they can easily go see it in theaters.
Yeah, this is huge. Mackenzie, it's always a pleasure. Congratulations on this. The
Thank
Hunger
you.
Games prequel dropping tonight at midnight, tomorrow. Huge. I mean, it's already gotten like high ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, certified fresh. I mean, people are really excited. Those first three movies were so good. And I think people go into these prequels hoping to get Easter eggs. And I think we're going to get all the fan service too. Congratulations on this. This is awesome. I can't wait to watch it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.